everyone. We hope the first Monday of the new year is going well for you. Thanks for watching THV11 News at Noon. I'm Amanda Jaeger in for Michael Aaron. And we have meteorologist Nathan Scott in. It is cold today. I wore gloves when I got in my car this morning. No shame.
Happy New Year, Amanda. It's a new year, a new weather pattern. Yes, the coldest air of the season invaded Arkansas this weekend. Look at these numbers we woke up to, ladies and gentlemen. 16 is where we started out. In Clinton, it dropped down to 20 in Little Rock, 21 Hot Springs. These are the coldest temperatures that we've seen since last February, around February 21st when we hit 16 at the Little Rock Airport. We are starting to rebound somewhat, 24-hour temperature difference. Yesterday, we didn't get out of the upper 20s to low 30s through the afternoon, so look at the temperature difference quite a bit, especially off to the west. But it's still feeling like 32 in Little Rock. It feels like 26 in Searcy. Still have a little bit of a wind, primarily for eastern locations. And with all that sun today, temperatures will be able to warm up into the upper 30s to lower 40s, but then we drop right back down into the 20s tonight. So lots of sun, but still bundle up because we're only going to see those numbers warm up into the low to mid 40s. The weather, it becomes more active going into the course of the work week, and that does include the chance of maybe some more winter weather. I'll have more on that coming up.
New this afternoon, police in Bryant are trying to figure out what led to a 2-year-old being shot this morning. It happened at the Fairways at Hurricane Creek apartment complex just off Double Eagle Way. We're working right now to get an update on the child's condition. THV11 has a crew headed to the scene right now, and we will continue to bring you updates as soon as they become available. Meanwhile, we're in the midst of a new wave of COVID-19 cases here in Arkansas, and there are signs it could be getting worse. The state health department reported more than 10,000 new COVID cases over the weekend. That's only the ones we know about. Meanwhile, health officials are watching the other number on your screen very closely. Hospital numbers are growing at an alarming rate. 98 more people were admitted to a hospital over the weekend, and nearly 700 Arkansans are now hospitalized by the coronavirus. The rising concerns come just as thousands of students and teachers return to the classroom after the holidays starting today. And because of the uptick in new cases and hospitalizations, we're seeing some local districts are now mandating masks. That includes at least 2 school districts, Jacksonville, North Pulaski, and Bryant. At both districts, masks are required during the school day in indoor spaces and on school buses. It is optional for students outside. Masks are not required in Benton schools, where students return tomorrow. Over the holiday break, workers did a deep cleaning on all surfaces. And while masks are not required in most school districts across the state, Garland County Health Officer Dr. Gene Shelby is urging parents to pack a mask for their child anyway.
If I was a parent, regardless of whether the schools were mandating it, I would mandate it as a parent that if you're going to be in a classroom full of kids, you've got to be wearing a mask.
And this return comes as COVID cases continue to surge in much of the nation as well, and as the FDA takes another step in the battle against the virus. CBS's Wendy Gillette has the latest from New York.
With millions of children heading back to class today, many of them may soon have some extra protection against COVID-19. The FDA has authorized Pfizer vaccine boosters for kids ages 12 to 15, 5 months after their last dose. The CDC still needs to sign off on the plan. Across the nation, the number of new cases reported hit an all-time high last week, nearly 500,000 in one day.
Omicron will spread. We're going to peak over the next several weeks, particularly in areas that had an early onset of Omicron, and then it'll go down afterwards.
The latest surge has some educators and parents questioning whether schools can open safely. But New York City and other big city school districts are bringing students back today.
I know there's questions about staffing. I know there's questions about testing. There's a lot of questions. But we're going to turn those question marks into an exclamation point. We're staying open.
To keep schools open, many districts are sharply increasing the number of students tested each week. In Florida, where positive COVID cases soared past 40,000 per day last week, the governor addressed the spike.
In Florida, particularly South Florida, we do believe it's overwhelmingly Omicron infections that are occurring, but Delta is still there, and most of the people that get really seriously ill are still being infected with the Delta variant.
Health experts continue to urge mitigation strategies to control COVID, like mask wearing, social distancing, and vaccines. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, New York.
On Sunday, Dr. Anthony Fauci said the CDC faced some blowback for its latest COVID isolation guidelines. The new guidelines don't require a negative COVID test for someone to exit a 5-day isolation period. Dr. Fauci says the agency may consider adding a testing requirement. Now to continuing coverage on one of our most viewed stories online. The Little Rock police chief is on administrative leave after he shot at a suspect over the weekend. It happened at the Superstop gas station on Asher Avenue Friday night. Chief Keith Humphrey was on duty as members of the command staff worked the New Year's Eve shift. And according to the news release from the Little Rock Police Department, Chief Humphrey witnessed a fight and shooting in front of the store. State police said in a statement that 29-year-old Taz Hayes shot and critically wounded another person. Chief Humphrey reportedly opened fire at Hayes, but she was not hit. Hayes was later arrested. Arkansas State Police are investigating to determine if use of deadly force was necessary. Little Rock Police will conduct a separate internal investigation. Also in Pulaski County, the Sheriff's Department is investigating a weekend homicide. Authorities say they were called to a vehicle that was on fire alongside a dirt road off Highway 300 in the Roland community. After first responders arrived and put the fire out, they found a body inside the vehicle. The body is being taken to the state crime lab to determine what happened. Police in Beebe are asking for your help finding a shooting suspect. Authorities say Travis Tacker is wanted in connection with shooting multiple people. Police say he was last seen on a red four-wheeler heading toward Beebe on Highway 367. If you know any information, you're asked to call police. New tax laws in Arkansas are now in effect for the new year. The Arkansas General Assembly passed several acts that will affect you. So here are some of the big ones. The top income tax rate for individuals drops from 5.9% to 5.5%. It'll eventually drop a little bit more over the next 4 years to reach 4.9% by 2026. And speaking of taxes, Act 841 creates a tax credit for retired law enforcement officers who help Arkansas State Police investigate cold cases. And Act 765 allows you to designate some or all of your income tax refund to the Law Enforcement Family Relief Checkoff Program. It will help the families of Arkansas officers killed in the line of duty or who were diagnosed with a terminal illness. Another new tax law change reduces the sales tax on used cars priced between $4,000 and $10,000. It drops to 3.5%. And another change reduces the registration fee for a hybrid vehicle from $100 to $50. We have a full list of the new tax law changes on thv-at-noon.com. Ahead of this week's anniversary on the assault of the Capitol, a CBS News poll finds most Americans think something like it will happen again. More than 2/3 in our poll say the events of that day are a sign of increasing political violence. Only 32% see January 6th as an isolated incident. CBS's Chris Van Cleve is on Capitol Hill.
People have got to understand the danger of President Trump and the danger that he posed on that day.
Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the Republican vice chair of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on Face the Nation Sunday.
The committee has firsthand testimony that President Trump was sitting in the dining room next to the Oval Office watching on television as the Capitol was assaulted, as the violence occurred. We know that that is clearly a supreme dereliction of duty.
Mississippi Democrat Benny Thompson chairs the January 6th committee and says there's evidence members of Congress interacted with some rioters.
Some took pictures with people who came to Stop the Steal rally, allowed them to come and associate in their offices and other things during that whole rally week.
Nearly a year after the attack, a CBS News poll found 85% of Democrats call it an insurrection, while 47% of Republicans call it patriotism, and 56% of Republicans say participants were defending freedom. A majority expect violence over losing in future presidential elections. Capitol Police Chief Thomas Manger says threats to lawmakers have accelerated.
Where does the threat level stand right now?
It's exponentially higher than it was 5 years ago. It remains to be seen if it just keeps increasing at the level that it has increased, or do we as a country get to a point where enough people say enough is enough?
President Biden and Vice President Harris plan to mark the one-year anniversary of January 6th here at the Capitol. Former President Trump is planning a news conference in Mar-a-Lago. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Washington.
Millions of people are using the pandemic to get fit. A closer look at new research showing how people avoided gaining that COVID-19 during lockdown.
And we have lost the numbers in the temperature department in terms of it's gotten much colder. It's going to be a cold day around the region. We will warm things up somewhat over the next couple days, but another system could deliver more winter weather for parts of the state. I'll let you know who has the best chance next.